We'll dive straight into the debate. The question is out there. Joining us this evening on the Newshour, Professor Ananya Chatterjee, documentary filmmaker, joining us from Kolkata. Vinod Kumar Tikku, member of the NCPCR, joining us from Delhi. Dr. Rajendra Kachru, father of the late Aman Kachru, joining us from Delhi. Good evening, sir. Amita Wattal, Principal, Springdale, also joining us from Delhi. Thank you for joining us. Barry O'Brien with us from Kolkata, educationist and also Vice Principal formerly of the South Point School. Madhav Chavan with me here in the Mumbai studio, co-founder and CEO of Pratham. But first to Debjani Chakravarti, one of the parents of one of the students of Christ Church School in Dum. Debjani, there's a reason for this ire, isn't it? What we saw earlier in the afternoon. Tell our viewers why. Debjani, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you tell our viewers why were the parents so angry?
एक बच्चा जो मौत हो गई, तो एक गार्जियन के लिए वो बच्चा का मौत हर बच्चा के लिए गार्जियन के लिए तकलीफ का बहुत तकलीफ दे रहा है कि एक छोटा बच्चा, वो हमारा भी हो सकता है, किसी का भी हो सकता है। और स्कूल का नेग्लिजेंसी में जो बच्चे का मौत हो गई ना, तो क्या बताओ, मैं बोलने का कोई भाषा ही नहीं मिल रहा है। इतना तकलीफ में हूँ, पूरा दिन स्कूल में हूँ। और स्कूल का जो सिस्टम है ना, सिस्टम में बोली चढ़ गई वो बच्चा। इसलिए पूरा गार्जियन जो पेरेंट्स होता है, ये पेरेंट्स लोग बहुत सैड हो गई और वो स्कूल में जाके ऐसा।
देवजानी, कई पेरेंट्स ने हमें बोला,
मजबूर हो गई। कई
पेरेंट्स ने हमें बोला कि ये पहला वाकया नहीं है, ऐसा पहले भी हो चुका है उस स्कूल में गर्ल्स के साथ। ये सही बात है?
हाँ, सही बात है। मेरा भी ऐसी तजुर्बा है। मेरे बच्चे जब क्लास 8 में पढ़ती थी ना, तब भी मेरा भी ऐसा ही तजुर्बा है। क्या बताऊँ। और वो ये स्कूल का जो प्रिंसिपल को जो रेजिग्नेशन दे दिया ना, ये अच्छा हुआ है। ये स्कूल का ऐसा एक बच्चा का सोच, क्या बताओ, एक क्लास 5 का इतना छोटा बच्चा को ऐसा तकलीफ देके मारना, हाँ, कोई सोच भी नहीं सकते। और टीचर हेड प्रिंसिपल है, उसका वो किसी गार्जियन के साथ मुलाकात भी नहीं किया। क्या बताओ, उसके घर में बच्चा नहीं है क्या? और मेरा भी ऐसा तजुर्बा है, क्लास 8 में मेरे बच्चे के साथ भी ऐसा किया था।
Mr. Barry O'Brien, are you hearing that? See, the allegation here is very simple. Number one, it's a case of negligence. Number two, it's a case of apathy. How can the school absolve itself with just an apology?
I'm not going to make any specific comment related to this particular incident. All I'd like to say as an educator, as a person who's deeply involved in the school education system, it's high time that each of us look in the mirror. We as teachers, we as principals of schools, we as school administrators, we have to connect with the parents. We have to connect with the guardians. We cannot close our doors and make it very difficult for even a guardian or a parent to enter except on a parent-teachers meeting day or a prize day. That's just not good enough, because we have to partner parents. We have to hold the hands of parents. Sometimes many parents need counseling.
But Mr. Bryan, at a theoretical level,
help because there's some
Mr. Bryan, sorry to cut you short, but at a theoretical level, you know, this sounds like a perfect speech. Obviously, all these things should be done. But my point is, has an effort been made? Are schools on board?
No, that's exactly my point. I take it in good spirit. You're calling my speech a theoretical one. But I feel very, very strongly about it. I go to many schools, I do workshops, I speak to principals, and I tell them categorically that father or sister or Mr. So-and-so or ma'am, we have to involve the parents. We have to meet parents. Why is there this mistrust? Why is there this suspicion, or why is there the gate closing happening? I mean, please, this is not just rhetoric. These are not just words.
Barry,
I'm
point
going
well
around
taken.
the country, not just Kolkata.
Barry, point well taken. Point well. Let's ask Amita Vatal. She's a principal of Springdale School. Madam, what's your point of view on this? Because repeatedly through the day, a lot of the parents, including Debjani, who's with us, they have said that the school principal turned a deaf ear to complaints. She said, complaint box mein complaint letter likho, hum dekhte hain kya hota hai. That is exactly what one of the parents said after he said that his child was actually there. The child's head was sunk in a water tank and she was left to be there and then pulled out. Exactly. That's how she was being tormented. And this is what the school principal's response was. What do you have to say to that?
Firstly, my deepest condolences with the family of the child. I think this is a very emotive issue because the death of a child is perhaps the greatest tragedy that can happen to a parent and to a school. Because a school, as said by an earlier speaker, is a stakeholder, is a partner, and deep engagement is extremely necessary. And I'm not very clear about the events because I've also heard that the child was injected after a couple of days and died after the injection. So I really don't know what the truth of the matter of the death is. But certainly I want to comment upon the bullying, because bullying is something which has become so rampant in schools. And when we are aware of it, it is very important that we don't close down our schools like mini Alcatrazes. We can't do that because it's a public space. We need engagement with parents. We need a situation where if the child was in that situation, why wasn't it happen that the parent immediately brought the matter to the principal that very afternoon when the child came home? Did the child not share it with her parent? Why is it that children don't have a voice? I think the voices of children, which means that there must be some sort of groups within the schools where there are youth groups which take up the voices of children, which connect with the authorities, which talk to principals and teachers, inform them if bullying is happening.
You know what happened? So she was locked in a toilet for 3 hours. And I'm going to put this across. She was locked in a toilet for 3 hours. It was the college servant, the peon, who opened the toilet. What was he doing? Why didn't he go and tell the principal this is what has happened with the 11-year-old girl? You know what led to her death? There is a postmortem report that's going to come on Friday. But why didn't the school people, the school authorities, officials and those who are working there go and tell the principal and alert the principal, listen, I found a girl locked in a toilet and she was crying and she was traumatized. Why didn't anybody speak up there? That's where I'm asking, what was this principal doing?
No, it's very clear that there
just to add to what Anand is saying, it's surprising that the school had to turn back and say that we were never informed. The parents never, came up to us and informed us.
You see, there is another point I would like to make.
How can the school absolve itself?
An average school has anything between 3,000 to 2,500 students. Now, it's very difficult to know every nook and cranny of the school, but it is the processes that you have to put into place. It's the kind of procedures in place where children are protected and secure. And every day there are incidents of ragging and bullying, and every day you have to be involved with them, and every day you have to connect with parents. I think that is the essence of it. And I think we have to really reflect and look at what is going on around us. But in this case, unfortunately, things like this, they're terrible, but they can happen, and they happen if there is apathy, if there is a situation where there is no connect. So I think we have to stop this disconnect. We have to be supportive. We have to spend times with large parent groups.
Exactly. Very true. Mr. Tikku, you're a member of the NCPCR. I believe the NCPCR has also taken up this matter. The big debate, at least in some sections. Yes, at least in some sections the big debate is, how can you blame the school? Where is the school at fault over here? I want to know what really is the responsibility of the school.
I'll tell you one thing, what Ms. Vatal said just now. School is one of the most important stakeholders when it comes to the development of a child. And definitely, as long as the child is in the school, I mean, the moment he leaves this home for the school and until the time he comes back from the school has to take up that responsibility. Number two, it's very essential that in such schools, we have to have the CCTVs, we have to have the surveillance systems in place. Definitely, you cannot go manually and to around all those nooks and crannies of the school and have a look at what's happening around. But definitely, there has to be. We have had number of cases. We had, in fact, in recent past, we had a case in Gurgaon also where a child was sexually abused by the maids. We recently had another case where the cyberbullying was taking place in the school itself. I mean, these things are happening, and surprisingly, despite the direction to the schools are definitely not taking those proactive steps which they should take.
No, Mr.
Tikku, you're talking about
Gurgaon. There is a Supreme Court directive.
Yeah, Sanket, go ahead.
There is a Supreme Court guidelines on this.
There is a Supreme Court directive that says every single incident of ragging where the victim or his parent, guardian or the head of the institution is not satisfied with the institutional agreement for action, an FIR must be filed. Must is the operative word. It took a long time in this particular case for a first information report to be filed. Something as basic as that.
And it's the parents who did it. It's the parents who complained, not the school.
I'm shocked, and when I came to know about this certain, as we still haven't got, because we already taken cognizance, I called for the full report. I had a word with the DM of the 24 North Parganas also, and he's probably going to send me in a couple of days' time the whole report. But there is something amiss there, because there was a caretaker who was involved probably in this whole episode. She was probably a part of that receipt of that money which was demanded of this girl. And she was subject to that kind of a torture, putting her in such a number of hours in the toilet of the school, locked. Obviously, it's going to lead to a trauma for the child. And she was let out only after.
Just wait. I'm going to ask this to Professor Ananya Chatterjee, joining us from Kolkata. Mamata Banerjee goes about tom-tomming, saying West Bengal is second to no other state in any format. At least in this one, it is true, because ragging, second most number of ragging incidences are happening in her state. After Uttar Pradesh, it is West Bengal, and it is rising in Kolkata. So much so that there are campaigns which are happening. There are campaigns even now on to try and educate parents, educate school authorities, and try and stop ragging in Kolkata. So it is on the rise. It's a menace, and that is why you have seen the kind of angst today and the ire today.
Something more I would like to add on here is basically there are.
Why are you politicizing this issue? This is an extremely human issue. Even I have a daughter. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I'm personally very aggrieved by this incident. Why are you trying to politicize this issue? This is
because the state is also responsible to maintain the educational system in the state.
We are all aggrieved by this issue.
I will tell you why. I'll tell you why Anand asked you that question. I'm going to come in here, in defense of Anand when he asked this question. You are saying why politicize this issue? Education is a state subject. Exactly. It's the responsibility of the state government. The mechanisms have to be put in place by the state government. Why shouldn't Mamata Banerjee be responsible? Why aren't these systems in place?
In fact,
Mamata Banerjee
in Delhi,
she called. Professor Chatterjee, she called. But you know what? Only after 14 hours of parents standing outside was some action taken. The principal came out after 8 hours of protests and dharnas by the parents outside. Did it take so much out of her to try and come out and apologize and say cooperate with us and understand? That is what was the attitude of the principal, despite the fact that parents came out and said we've had repeated complaints, 6 complaints in the last 1 month.
Nobody is supporting the principal, I'm sorry.
No, we are not
supporting. Nobody is supporting the principal. I'm not supporting the principal. Nobody is supporting the principal. I condemn this entire incident. You never asked me what I feel about it. You're just accusing me of something. I mean,
Professor Chatterjee, no accusations are being made against you. We are asking what is happening in Bengal.
I have a small child. I'm not saying that what happened is right. What nonsense are you talking about? You're just making a scapegoat out of me.
No, we are not accusing you, Professor Chatterjee.
When on earth did I
Professor
say
Chatterjee,
that
at no point are we accusing you. No accusations are being made at you.
It is not right.
We are asking what is happening in Kolkata, and the reason for this ire is that it is deep-rooted.
Ragging is a menace in the state. We are trying to criticize the issue. We just put things in perspective. Nobody is trying to accuse you.
I'm in no way connected with this incident.
Professor Chatterjee,
in a school.
With due respect, Professor Chatterjee, nobody is trying to accuse you.
Something that I'm in no way connected with. And I'm condemning the incident.
No, Professor Chatterjee.
I'm condemning the incident and I feel sorry.
Professor Chatterjee.
In the beginning I said, even I have a small child. I shudder to think what would have happened if I was in that girl's mother's
Only to the point where you said that we should not politicize this issue, where we felt it necessary to clarify. Nobody is accusing you. But you know, the larger issue.
You are
Principal
politicizing this issue.
Ms. Wattal, the larger issue, do you think, Ms. Wattal, there is a tendency, often as parents, you know, there is this fear.
What happened?
Okay.
Your point taken, Professor Chatterjee.
Okay, Professor Chatterjee. Ms. Wattal, coming across to you, there is this tendency, you know, perhaps a fear among parents. Ms. Wattal, let me complete my question. Ms. Wattal, let me complete my question. There is a fear among parents that perhaps in schools, there is this tendency to suppress any case of ragging or any such case of, misdemeanor, because it will bring a bad impression to the school. You are the principal of a very reputed school. What is your view on this? It's a genuine fear.
No, I think, you see, the child lies... No, you're right in that. That basically I feel that the child lies at the heart of everything. And the child is above everything. It's above the media, it's above politics, it's above bickering. I think the most important thing that we as stakeholders of schools and parents have to understand, that parents also have to develop strength and voices in their children, that if they feel fragmented, if they feel broken, if something goes wrong, they must come and speak to their parents, so that immediate action must be taken, and the parent must remember that they must have faith in the school authorities, and the school authorities must live up to that faith. So I think we have to work together, because more and more lives are being destroyed, and I can understand the pain that Dr. Chatterjee is feeling, because she's very emotional at this point. It is a very emotional situation, but I do believe that as an advice to parents, let's not keep quiet. Let's not worry that my child is going to go there and the teacher will victimize or not victimize. I think the parents have to become a large support group, and they have to stand up. And if you're telling me that this school had problems for so many months, why didn't the parents come out in large PTA meetings and make a demonstration and say, we will not tolerate this?
That is exactly why they went on a rampage.
Why do we have to wait for a death?
I'm just going to go across to Sanket, if you can hear me.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
No, you said that the school was constantly having serial cases of children being troubled.
The parents complained. They were told to give their complaint or put their complaint in a letter box. That's it.
देवजानी आप सुन रहे हैं? देखिए ये स्कूल की प्रिंसिपल कह रही है कि पेरेंट्स को प्रिंसिपल के पास जाके कंप्लेन करना चाहिए था। अगर रैगिंग हो रहा है, अगर बुलिंग हो रहा है वहां पे स्टूडेंट्स के साथ, तो पेरेंट्स को जाके ये आवाज उठाना चाहिए था।
लार्ज ग्रुप्स में जाएं, मीडिया को बुलाएं, जो करना है करें।
आप उनको बताइए, क्या इससे पहले आपने इस बारे में वहां पे हेलन सरकार जो प्रिंसिपल थी उनके पास जाके आपने कंप्लेंट की थी? बाकी पेरेंट्स ने कंप्लेंट की थी इससे पहले भी?
किसके साथ बात करूं? वो जो टीचर है किसी के साथ मिलते ही नहीं है। हर फ्राइडे 1 घंटा टाइम है सिर्फ टीचर के साथ मुलाकात करने के लिए, लेकिन वो सिर्फ टीचर के लिए। प्रिंसिपल किसी के साथ कोई बात नहीं करते। ये एक बच्चा का मौत हो गई तब भी वो किसी के साथ नहीं मिला, तो ऐसे कैसे मिलते हैं? तो भगवान की देखा मिल सकते हैं हम लोग, लेकिन प्रिंसिपल से नहीं मिल सकते। वो किसी के साथ बात नहीं करते। क्या बताओ, जो टीचर है उसको जो मानविक दिखाना होता है ना, नहीं कुछ नहीं है। हम सुबह उठ के बच्चे को हाथ पकड़ के स्कूल छोड़ के आते हैं ना, 7-8 घंटा स्कूल में रहते हैं, उन लोगों के भरोसे में यही तो सीखते हैं। एक बच्चे की मौत हो गई और गार्जियन के सामने दरवाजा बंद कर दो। आज पूरा गार्जियन मजबूर हो गए, स्कूल के सामने ऐसा कर रही है, तब भी उसका हुस है आज गार्जियन के सामने हमको माफ कर दो बताने के लिए। कहाँ था काल, कहाँ था ये बात बोलने के लिए? कहाँ था जब वो बच्चे की मौत हो गई? जब एक बच्चा स्कूल में ऐसा टॉर्चर हुआ है, सोच भी नहीं सकते। एक क्लास 5 का बच्चा स्कूल में ऐसा टॉर्चर हो गया जो ट्रॉमा में चला गया, स्कूल का किसी टीचर को पता नहीं है। कैसा स्कूल है ये?
Anand, I guess you should ask Mr. Madhav.
ये टीचर बता रही है, वो टीचर का।
Mr. Chauhan, you're hearing this?
ये बता रही है जो वो टीचर जानती है, वो बता रही है प्रिंसिपल को रिपोर्ट दिया है। ये कोई स्कूल है क्या?
देवजानी
दोस्त खड़ा कर रही है।
देवजानी जी,
कौन सा बच्चे को सुबह उठ के सब गार्जियन छोड़ के आ रहा है, किसके ऊपर छोड़ रहा है? किसी का बच्चा कभी भी कुछ भी हो सकता है। टीचर कह रहे हैं उसका दोष है, वो कह रहे हैं उसका दोष है, और कितने सारे प्रिंसिपल को रेजिग्नेशन करना पड़ेगा। उसका जो परीक्षा में होता है ना,
देवजानी जी आपकी बात सबने सुनी,
दे रहा है ना पूरा बड़ा।
आपकी बात सबने सुनी। You can see the frustration on she's a parent of the same school, and she says it has happened with her own child also in the past.
No, this is not uncommon. I think if you're looking at, first of all, we are looking at a private school, large, as I don't know the details, but as somebody mentioned, 2,500-3,000 children. So this has become like a factory. It's not an educational institution where teachers, parents and children relate to each other as human beings. Parents leave the children and they think that this is that the school is going to take care of them and educate them, and that's the assumption that we make. And then they come home and then they go for coaching, tuitions and all that. I think the life of a child today is extremely stressful. Families' lives are stressful, and the whole affair has become extremely impersonal. Education cannot be impersonal. What you are seeing, and I know because this happened with my child also. When I tried to approach the school, I was told to come at a certain time, and then the principal was busy. A long time back, not today. Now, these things do happen. And what this means is, your colleague may say I am being theoretical, but I think we need to take a very close look at what the system and school education model is. If we are going to be impersonal about education, then there is a problem. And this has to be addressed. This can't be addressed only by laws and FIRs and rules. There is a fundamental change that is required. Sounds theoretical. In this particular case, if you want to say, is the school responsible? Of course the school is responsible, but not only on that day. What is coming through is the school has a history of indiscipline. Yes. The school has a history of being careless. Now, so that needs to be looked into. Whether it led to the particular death or not is a point that will come into the law.
That will be determined, but it all started from the school.
Chauhan, who looks into it?
And you know,
are you blaming the parents?
And you know, Sanket, I'm just going to go across to Dr. Rajendra Khachru because he's been quiet. He's been listening to all the opinions. Yeah. Where Mr. Khachru, the principals and the schools say the parents should encourage their children to speak up. But isn't the responsibility of the schools too to try and encourage students to come up and speak up and keep the doors open?
Yeah, it's common. You cannot get to the principal's office. Teachers cannot even enter the principal's office, never mind the students and parents.
Exactly.
But after listening to many of the participants here, I want to tell you something. As of today, we do not have a set of regulations for prevention of ragging or bullying in schools. We managed to get a set of regulation for prevention of ragging in institutions in 2009, and that has made a tremendous difference. We are seeing the results from this year onwards. But we do not have a framework of regulations for prevention in schools. What it means is that there have to be school administration, management have to have certain things they have to do, regardless of whether bullying happens in their school or not. If they do not comply with those things, like having a poster, having a meeting, having a lecture, whatever may be the measures, if they do not follow those measures, then you can go after them and try to implement them for prevention. This is the principle on which we are working on the ragging. We insist that reporting ragging is a different matter, that is a redressal of a problem. Compliance is very important. Even if you have a fantastic university, JNU or Delhi University or any other place in Mumbai University where there's no incidences of ragging happening, but I'm still insisting every week on the Vice Chancellor, I want to see compliance, no letdown.
Absolutely.
You have to have the poster, whether there is happening, you have to have this, you have to have that. So schools, we have absolutely no framework at all. There are certain directions and certain advices given by all the agencies. They are not unenforceable. What we need to have is an extension. There is a provision of the Supreme Court that they said that sometime when the government is ready, they should go in for extension to schools. Now to this end, only last week, Ministry of Human Resources has appointed a committee under the chairmanship of CBSE chairman to look into this matter. I would urge all the participants who were on your channel and many others to approach this committee and raise their voices, because this committee can also mute out the whole situation. We don't know. There are 10 people, they don't know everything. So it was an opportunity. It is an opportunity now. It has only arisen last week after 1.5 to 2 years of our lobbying with the ministry. So I think absolutely, I do not disagree that we have a cultural problem. We even have a social problem. Our nation suffers from seniority syndrome for hundreds of years. I'm not denying we have so many problems. Social fabric has disintegrated, lots of problems. But regulation, a set of regulation for prevention is absolutely essential. And the sooner we bring it, the less tragedies we will have.
Okay, Professor Chatterjee, you heard Mr. Kachru there, Dr. Rajendra Kachru there, making a very, very important and perhaps, a suggestion that can immediately be implemented. That is the solution that he has actually offered. But, the point that we were trying to raise over here is, I'm again going back to the Supreme Court directive. The directive says it shall be the collective responsibility of the authorities and functionaries of the concerned institution, and their role shall also be open to scrutiny for the purpose of finding out whether they have taken effective steps for preventing ragging, and in case of their failure, action can be taken. It's very clear. The directions are there.
Can I come in here for a class? Can I clarify this, please?
I completely agree with...
Yes, Dr. Kachru. In a moment.
Professor Chatterjee, just hold on. Dr. Kachru has a point and then I'll come back.
The Supreme Court judgment.
Yes.
The Supreme Court judgment that you are quoting of the 8th May 2009 is restricted geographically to the higher institutions. There is a last paragraph that says it should be extended to schools. The extension has not taken place yet. So as of today, if you actually want to go after a college principal for negligence, you do not have any legal framework. The Supreme Court directive which you are quoting is restricted only to higher education institutions.
Yes, Professor Chatterjee.
I would like to supplement here.
I'd like to make a point in this.
So the first thing that needs to be done,
I would like to make a point.
The first thing that needs to be done, as Dr. Kachru has said, is that that legal framework has to be created. That's very important. And I think there is one more thing that I would like to say, is that regardless of the legal framework, it is up to individual teachers also to be human towards the child, towards whoever is the child. Because I have seen schools...
Professor Chatterjee, we are having some audio issues, audio disturbance in your audio that's coming across to us. So please hold your thoughts. We'll sort it out and I'll come back to you in 2 minutes the moment we sort it. We just check that out.
I'd like to make a point.
Yes,
here,
madam. Yes, Ms. Water.
I'd like to make a point.
Yes, Ms. Water.
I just want to say one thing, that the way we look at ragging in schools cannot be looked at the way ragging is looked in the university, because we have children over here. And we have to look at, and I'm on the governing board of the Central Board of Education, the CBSE. We run CBSE schools. So I'm aware of the committee that Dr. Kachru is mentioning. But I do want to make one thing very clear, that we are dealing with children and we're dealing with their lives. We cannot take punitive action against them because they are still children and they are in the process of growing up. We have to take preventive measures when we build buddy system, mentoring and monitoring, engagement, making groups of children, develop leadership, and again have sensitive teachers who understand sensitivity, bring in humanism into the school system, have activities which bring in reflection.
It might sound a little cynical here. It all sounds very nice in theory, but in reality, is that the true case? Barry O'Brien sitting right next to Debjani there.
This be the
in Kolkata. There are
Kolkata. Barry, this should be done in schools.
Barry, tell me,
should be held accountable.
How often have you seen a teacher not say, brush aside an issue, brush it aside and say, these things happen, it's a minor thing, it's all right. You know, this is all part of growing up. Isn't that an attitude that even teachers have when students come and complain?
You can't say that. This is not what has been. This is not what has been said. What has been said is that we cannot take punitive action against children.
No, I agree what you're saying. You're saying there needs to be buddy system and corrective action. But the fact is, what I'm asking Barry O'Brien as an academic and as a vice principal of a former vice principal of a school in Kolkata, what I'm asking Barry is, isn't this attitude? Haven't you seen this when students come to complain? A lot of the teachers also brush some things aside, don't take it seriously, say it's all part of growing up, you'll manage, you'll understand. Isn't that also there? And that's where the problem is.
Not anymore. Teachers are very accountable. Not anymore.
Yes, Barry. Yes, Barry.
Can I just make 3 quick points? One is we cannot generalize. There are many teachers who would do exactly what you said, and there are many teachers who give a lot of time and take a lot of care over each child. I'd like to make a quick point over here. The school you keep referring to, where I literally learnt my trade, as it were, South Point, we had 14,500 students over there, 75 students in a class. So when I used to teach, everyone would ask me, how would you manage? And in fact, who do you deal with? How do you deal with them? Well, actually, teachers have to be very, very observant and alert, and look for the very quiet ones, the very talkative ones, the destructive ones. We don't have to worry about all the 75 of them. We just have to be very, very observant and alert. Parents need to also at home, please observe your children much more closely. Coming back to your point about the schools, when I joined, there was a complaint to the principal, Mr. Indranath Guho then, and a lot of people went to him and said, it's impossible to get Mr. O'Brien. The children are always in his room. The parents are always in his room. And Mr. Guho had a smile on his face and he said, that's why I brought him here. I think that's what we need to do. There have got to be some points in the school, some people in the school who are just more approachable than others, because everybody can't be doing this job. The other role is our traditional role of class teacher. The class teacher is actually the parent of those 40, 50 children, and he or she has to play a key role, because he or she knows much more about the child than any subject teacher, than any school principal or any caretaker. So that's a key issue.
Okay.
And the last point I'd like to make is, why are we just last point, why are we such a reactive society and a reactive system? Why don't we become proactive? Why do we brush everything under the carpet? I'd like to just share with you, just today, I finished a couple of pages for a new book of mine, which is a general awareness book for classes 1 to 8, where I have put in, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that my publishers let it go through, where I've talked about, there are pages on child abuse, there are pages on even crimes against women, I've even referred to the Delhi rape, there is a page on ragging, there is a page on how to sensitize children, and talking about suicide. What I'm trying to say is these are far more important issues than knowing the steps of how many steps there were in Mohenjo-daro, or how long Shah Jahan took to actually build the Taj Mahal. Those are important issues. And Pythagoras' theorem, but these are far more important issues.
Mr. Bryant,
we need to look deeper into the
Mr.
system
O'Brien,
and deeper into ourselves.
You'll again accuse me of calling this all theoretical. You'll again accuse me of calling all of this theoretical. But what are the solutions? It's all nice. It's all nice to hear all these things. It's good. These things should happen, but why aren't they the norm?
Exactly my point as an educator.
Let's quickly get in a word from Professor Chatterjee. We lost her line just a short while back. Mr. O'Brien, just coming back to you in a short moment. Professor Chatterjee, you know, there is another fear that parents have. The fear is that, you know,
I just wanted to make one point.
The more reputed the school, the more snob value the school principals, teachers, everybody has. And, you know, the more difficult it is to actually approach them or to, you know, get into grievance redressal. Again, it's a valid fear.
No, I think it's very important to be accessible. I think it's very, very important to be accessible, very important. as a teacher, I teach in a college and I am very accessible, and I know that our principal is also very accessible. I think it's very important to be accessible and to be a friend to your students. But more than anything else, today I watched an interview of the girl's father, the little girl who died, her father, and he came across to me as an extraordinary man. Even in his grief, he said two things. He said that with my daughter's death, I hope many more daughters would be saved, and that the system would be put into place. And the second thing he said, that no matter what happened to my daughter, there is no justification behind vandalizing the school, because the school is like a temple. And if there are one or two bad people there, that doesn't mean that you desecrate the temple.
Fair point there.
Excuse me, can I say something here?
Yes, final word, Dr. Kachru. We are running out of time. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to say something on accessibility complaint redressal. It is a useless exercise if you tell the college students or the parents of the child who is getting bullied to go to the same school teacher and report it. It has to be reported remotely, like we do in the case of ragging, and then we tell the college principal. So it's a very important psychological thing. So if they can pick up the phone and ring me in Delhi, I tell the college principal rather than they going directly to the college principal. And we also have a record of everything that happens. Another thing is that we always misunderstand the law is always punitive. It is not meant to be punitive. The law on ragging is a prevention. Students who are in the higher education are not to be penalized, but their teachers are to be penalized if they neglect.
Well
so
said.
Schools can have the same prohibitive.
Well said, Dr. Kachru.
We can have laws which penalize the teachers, not the students. Students are small children.
You have made very fair points. As we wind up this debate, the 11-year-old, what she told her parents was she doesn't want to go back to the school and complain because she is fearful of being bullied again, and she would have to bear the brunt herself. That's why she doesn't want to go back. So what Dr. Kachru said, that it has to be made remotely and there needs to be some thought there. Very, very burning issue, and he's put it out very rightly. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us on the News Hour tonight.